Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the most recent installment of Building the Scottish State with myself, Dr. Mark McNaught, here on the 8th of September, 2022. And I have the great pleasure to have with me former SNP member Chris McCusker, who is happy to talk with us. For those of you who are unaware, the Queen Elizabeth has passed on. And so we're going to speak about a little bit about that and what that means for the future of the monarchy, as well as his past in the SNP and what Chris wants to do in order to pro-independence activism and whatever else comes up. So first of all, Chris, thanks for being with us this evening. No, it's an absolute pleasure, Mark. I mean, we were talking the other night there. It was about what, 8 or 9 years since we last done a wee tete-a-tete. It's been a while. Well, not that long, but we've because I think I last saw you at the SNP conference, or I saw you in 2018 maybe. It's about 4 years. Yeah, I was thinking about the sit down that we had with Graham Campbell and John Gordon. That was something like 2016, or that was something like 2017, 2018, something like that. You know, but time flies when you're enjoying yourself. No, exactly. That was, again, I was mentioning before, that's one of the more fascinating discussions that I've had. So tell us about your experience with the SNP without launching into too many expletives. Right. Well, I mean, I'll start from the start. I joined late 2012, 2013. And primarily I joined because Chris Stevens, now MP for Govan, was a comrade of mine, and through various workings in the SCUC and my contacts within the labour movement, and he informed me that there was a trade union group to which I was very keen to get involved in. I've been a trade union rep for nigh on 30 years, and I'm retired now. But I was the former trade union rep at the Glasgow airport for unfortunately the GMB. That's a whole different story. But yeah, Chris invited me in, and I was just keen to see what they were all about, and lo and behold, at the second meeting, I got co-opted onto the executive, and at the time of my suspension, which I'm currently under, the circumstances I'm sure we'll go into, yeah, I was the membership secretary of the trade union group, and I was proud to be the membership secretary of nearly 14,000 members. Wow. At the time, wow. I was campaigning for the SNP in Eastwood. We ousted Jim Murphy from his seat, and he was like a donkey on charrettes when I told him that the SNP at that time had a trade union membership of 14,500. Mm-hmm. Which is actually nearly more than the Labour support in Scotland. Within Scotland, that's within Scotland. 14,000. Yeah. Among SNP members or just SNP members? Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, at the height, the SNP membership at one time was totaling out at 126,000. Mm-hmm. To be nearly at 15,000 trade unionists. That shows a lot. Nearly percent of the SNP membership. Yeah. So I mean, that is a lot of distance. 2015, 2016 when it reached its peak, I think. Yeah. So I mean, that was a lot of disenfranchised trade unionists that didn't, share Labour's vision for Scotland, and that's the way that I looked at it, I mean, as you know, well documented throughout the years, Glasgow in itself is, with the Red Clydesiders, Jimmy Reid, with a long tradition of socialism in Scotland. And, at that time,
the SNP were espousing socialist values, and I do particularly point that out in the past tense. You know, so I mean, that was my whole reasoning to come into the SNP. Obviously, the fact that I wanted Scotland to be independent as well. Sure. We all want that, but primarily my drive at that time was trade unionism.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and do you think that was the SNP? I mean, you know, obviously a party, especially an independence party, wants to be kind of broad tent to take in as many people as possible.
Yeah.
To what extent do you feel that the SNP has been or is currently pro-trade union? You know, it's been interpreted as becoming increasingly neoliberal, but how do you view it? I mean, you know,
I mean, back in 2014, 2015, as I said, I was a trade union rep for the GMB, and my political officer at that time was a certain Richard Leonard. And you know, when he climbed the slippery heights of Labour leadership in Scotland, he constantly said that the SNP never engaged with the trade unions. That is complete and utter tosh. The SNP group has the SNP Trade Union Group has always had a good working relationship with the STUC and various trade unions within Scotland, and you know, many of the members are representative of all the trade unions that are in Scotland, you know, from Prospect to Unite to GMB to you know, many others, Bectu, you know, and Balpa, the big aviation industry. You know, so I mean, you know, that is complete and utter lies that he was never brought to task on. And you know, I mean, we now with Ros Foyer, you know, we have an excellent working relationship, you know, going forward. And you know, it is truth to that is the fact that the STUC actually a couple of years ago agreed at one of their conferences that their members, you know, should have the right to consult on Scotland's determination, and that is out of step of the Scottish Labour Party, you know, who have constantly said to their members that you know, where Scotland independence concerns, you know, as trade union members, you should not support it. You should fervently support the union, and you know, so that's one way that the Labour slab are out of step with the, what you could say, the governing body of trade unions in Scotland.
Okay. All right. And what does the future hold for you in terms of activism? Are you going to continue working with the trade unions? I mean, campaigning for independence? How do you see how do you see your activism continuing?
I will at this moment in time, until I've been informed, because I haven't been informed, which I find really quite bizarre. But you know, quite a few people have told me that this is the way that they do in-house business. It could be anything up to a year. You know what I've been told, but you know, I do my own work. I'm as you know, a humanitarian aid worker, and I will continue in that vein. You know, it's something that you know, I will do until, you know, until I physically can't do it. I will campaign fervently for Scotland to be an independent nation, and yeah. You know, I've had warm communication from like-minded activists within the wider independence campaign, you know, to continue, doing what I do, say what I say, because people are actually quite interested in, you know, some of the content of my tweets, whether it's from whether it's about trade unionism, whether it's about Palestine. As you know, I've got very strong views on that. You know, to my humanitarian aid work, and also as trying to set myself up as a self-styled celebrity chef.
Cool. Okay. And as we all might be aware, the Queen Elizabeth has passed. You know, I'm not one to speak ill of the dead. But at the same time, I've been someone who has objected to the very institution of the monarchy. You can admire someone, you know, for who they are or whatever, how they conduct themselves, which I, you know, don't necessarily, but I just don't, like you, I'm very much a Republican and believe that the monarchy has absolutely no place in modern day society. And I've always had the suspicion that once Elizabeth passes, that a lot of the Commonwealth realm, you know, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all that would once there was the real prospect of King Chuck becoming king, and just like, dude, no, you know, I mean, I just can't see many people stomaching having that dude be king over anybody, let alone a good portion of the world. And I'm just wondering if a lot of the, you know, maybe even including the UK, I don't know if there'll be a significant movement to abolishing the monarchy or becoming a Republican, but I always felt that once Elizabeth passes, that would kind of open up a dam of, you know, possible Republican sentiment among the population. I just get this impression that most of them were just kind of hanging on while she was hanging on. Yeah, she's been there since 1952 or whatever. Yeah, she's a nice old lady, blah, blah, blah. But once she's gone, we're out of here. I mean, I hope that's the case. And again, not speaking ill of anyone.
Well, no, the way that I view it. Sorry, I mean, the way that I view it, and you know, I'm not going to, again, similarly as yourself, I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. You know, it's sad anybody's passing. But you know, I mean, people that follow me on Twitter will know that I've no love for the royal family since the tragic passing of Princess Diana. And you know, it's an outdated system. It's an outdated family that has not moved with the times, and you know, it will. Unfortunately, I think it will remain. You know, Britain will not automatically become a republic. You know, they will continue to with the pomp and ceremony and stuff like that all goes with it. You know, yes, many countries will, you know, make a move to leave the shall we say, fiefdom of the royal family. And you know, fair play to them. You know, many countries smaller than Scotland.
Barbados already has. I think Jamaica has basically said we're out of here too, and I'm sure that, you know, they were just waiting for, you know, Elizabeth to pass.
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of them started the ball rolling a few years ago. You know, and I think that they obviously saw that the writing was on the wall. Read into that what you may. And you know, fair play to them. The point that I was making, Mark, which I'm sure you'll agree, is the fact that you know, smaller countries in Scotland have actually left the protectorate of the British Empire, and not one country has ever asked to go back.
I've made that point numerous times.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you know, I mean, people can take into consideration what they want from that. But it's a statement of fact. and I mean, you can use, and obviously mainstream media for the next month will be full of hyperboles about what the royal family have done for us over the last 50, 60 odd years. Personally, I don't see any benefit, in putting somebody into a golden carriage that could eradicate on its own the amount of food banks within Britain if it was melted down and sold. I just don't see the need for that. Also, the fact without even opening a purse, I think she could probably readjust the inequality within Britain as it stands. But I mean, again, it's it's a subject that you could speak all night about. I mean, we were talking off air, about did the Queen interfere in politics? Had she remained impartial? There was a famous line by one of the men in the British Isles that I really, really do admire, and that's Jim Royal. And his line is "my arse."
Yeah. Well, I was just you were just saying we could talk all night about it. We don't have to worry about that because the BBC will be talking about it for the next several weeks. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I've read there was this royal protocol about what's supposed to happen, and I forget Operation something. I forget the name of it, but it's it is kicking in now, obviously, for the last hour or so that she's been deceased. And there's supposed to be 5 days of mourning within Great Britain. Everybody's supposed to put a Union Jack on their door or something like that. Yeah. What do you know about the protocol? And if anybody in the comments can put up the name of that operation that they've planned for literally decades of what happens when the Queen, but it involves like mourning for, I don't know, North Korea style for I don't know how many weeks or whatever. But what do
you I mean, from what I understand, is that it's supposed to be 5 days of national mourning. So therefore, businesses can only operate if they are deemed essential. Now, where do you draw the line there? I mean, obviously gas is essential, electricity is essential, but so is a kebab shop at 11 o'clock at night when you're steaming.
Oh, damn right.
So I mean, I mean, where does it stop? Where does it stop? So and this ludicrous thing that you're supposed to put a Union Jack outside your door. I actually seen, and I don't know how true it is, but I seen someone on Facebook. They had a picture of the television, and on the television it said that households should hang the Union Jack outside the door, and I just find that if that's true, if that was on mainstream media, I honestly, it just proves that the whole country is going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. I just got a message from my friend Alan. He said there was supposed to be a minute silence at Hart Stadium, who we're playing now. It wasn't very silent, LOL. But so apparently,
well, that's actually surprising because Hearts are actually seem to be the Unionists of the East.
Because they're equivalent of Rangers basically in Edinburgh, right?
Yeah, kind of. Aye. But saying that, Hibs are a bizarre lot. You know what I mean? Because they've got a green Union Jack. I mean, what the God name's that all about? You know what I mean? I just rips my knitting right away. You know what I mean? I mean, their very name, Hibernian. The Hibernia Walk, it relates back to, the old country back in Ireland, when Republicans, dare I say, IRA sympathisers and stuff like that, would be taking part in the annual Hibernia Walk. But listen, I've actually bumped into Celtic fans that actually say that they support Tories.
Mm-hmm.
Work that one out if you like.
Yeah, one of the comments was my TV will be off for at least 6 months. So I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are,
To be honest with you,
annoyed.
you know, I mean, I don't watch mainstream television. Most of the media that I consume is streamed, and you know, I take more pleasure in my Xbox and playing FIFA and stuff like that, and shooting zombies and you know, you know, various things like that. I mean, I really don't have enough lot of time. You know, I read quite a lot, and obviously, you know, the stuff that I read, you know, a bit political. James O'Brien, his last book was absolutely fascinating. I think
Yeah,
that
which
man
one was
is. Jesus,
How to
it's
Be
in the back.
Right?
How to Be Right, yeah.
I haven't
And
read
thing
it.
I was just going to say, I would need to nick into the bedroom and grab it. But yeah, no, I mean, if there was ever a man that had done, you know, physically the act of Saul, you know, and turning around on the road of Damascus, that is him. You know, I mean,
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of him, and he's the only one in the mainstream British media that I even have any time for whatsoever. And
yeah,
really
you know,
good
but I mean,
doing
if you look at James
production.
O'Brien, I mean, he worked for many of the right-wing
Yeah,
broadsheets.
he was for the Express for a while in the
Yeah,
entertainment section or something like that, and
yeah.
he just
I've
rips
got,
the Mail and the Express, and I mean he's really funny, you know.
yeah. Oh no, I mean, he's not only is he funny, but he's you know, I mean, he's factually correct. And you know, I mean, there's been times that he's said things, and I've went, I really need to go and research that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very few times do you actually get kind of like a disc jockey journalist that actually provokes you to go and do a bit of research and actually say, you know, Jesus, did that actually happen? Did she
Yeah.
actually say that?
Yeah.
And you know, his finger on the pulse, along with his sidekick Theo Usherwood.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's constantly in the in and out of the House of Commons and stuff like that. Honestly, that is one of the best. I know it's LBC, a London Broadcasting Company, but you know, honestly, I would urge
Or it's
indie
leading,
activists.
totally technically leading Britain's conversation, but
Leighton Britain's conversation is very tongue in cheek. It's very tongue in cheek because it was originally London Broadcasting because I know that for a fact because I used to live in London.
okay.
You know, so before it sort of like changed and yeah, but I would urge Scottish activists to actually tune in to James O'Brien because you know he really does offer. He's not in favour of independence, but he really hates the Tories with an absolute vengeance. And you know, and he's not scared that slapping down Labour either as well. You know, so I mean, honestly, for independent sort of like journalism, you know, out with obviously the comedy value of Jonathan Pye, I would definitely invite people.
He's hysterical. He's
Absolutely brilliant. I would invite people, you know, actually, if you can, possibly listen in to James O'Brien. He's done a couple of podcasts as well. He's done a fascinating one with Mick Lynch.
Yes, I'm a
You
big
know,
admirer of Nick Lynch and Eddie Dempsey as well. They're really
Eddie Dempsey as well. Yeah,
really good.
and they were absolutely fascinating podcasts. Really good.
Did you go to Mick Lynch's speech in Glasgow recently?
Well, funnily enough, actually, now we're back to that wee conundrum. Yes, right. So, for those that don't know, right. So, yeah, I'm suspended from the SNP for some of my tweets, some of the content of my tweets. A certain Blair McDougall colluded with a certain Alex Massey of the Express to highlight the audacity that I was calling certain politicians quislings. And I was calling Priti Patel a witch. Which I think is an accurate description. I think I called Liz Truss a Barbie doll. But the biggest thing that Blair had an issue with was a couple of years ago when he moved in to where I live now. I said, "Oh, now that you're my neighbour, I'll be able to keep my beady eye on you." He then reported that as having his house under surveillance. Now, the way that the street runs, Mark, I have to be quite precise to tell you this. There is only one road in and one road out. I live at number 1. He lives at number 23. I have to pass his house in order to get to the main road. So the whole pish about, having his house under surveillance is absolutely ludicrous. I've got better things to do in my time than watch his house. He's just jealous. He's just jealous because I was homeless, and the way that I view it, Nicola gave me this house for nothing, and he had to pay 550,000 for his.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So going to a couple of the questions. Will Charles have to go through an event in Scotland following the coronation to confirm his position here? I think so. I don't know whether they do the...
No, I don't think it will.
As nauseating as the prospect is, I think he will. I think he does. I'm not exactly sure about that.
No. I think the coronation will take place in Westminster Abbey. I think the Stone of Destiny will be taken down there as a symbol. It is always used as a symbol. The Stone of Destiny is used as an overlordship symbol of the dominance of England over Scotland. Do you know what I mean? Because it was our stone that we crowned our kings and queens on, and it was taken. Whether they get the right one is
it was repatriated to Scotland. What was it, back in the 50s, something like that?
Back in the 50s, yeah, and then it was always said that the one that they got or the one that we got was the wrong one. That was a replica. I don't know. But yeah, it will feature, and it is a visible presence of overlordship over Scotland. You know what I mean, to use that seat. Now I'm a great fan of Outlander and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I would find it fascinating, the fact that there's going to be a wee black van turning up at Scone. In order to scoop up the Stone of Destiny, take it down, wipe it off and stuff like that. You know what I mean? For his wee pink bum to sit up on it, and then taken back up the road back into Scotland and put on display again. It harks back to what I was saying earlier, Mark, is the fact that the pomp and ceremony will still continue. They will flog it like the proverbial dead horse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Keith Brown says, "Give them a fake stone." So
fake.
Made out of styrofoam. Paint it brown or whatever.
I'm sure the Ward Park Studios could come up with something over in Cumbernauld. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. All right. So, and how do you see the current state of the independence movement? You have, obviously you had ALBA created a year and a half ago. Many of the members are ex-SNP. Some of the most activist members of ALBA are former SNPs. There is, let's just say, big questions about Nicola Sturgeon's proposed referendum. No Section 430, no way. And then she's taken this to the Supreme Court. I think the outcome is pretty predictable. Dacian parliamentary sovereignty, forget it, Scotland, you can't do it. And then also, and then the possibility of holding a plebiscite referendum in the next Westminster election, failing that. How do you see that strategy? I mean, there's a lot of people that are saying it's not going to work, but how do you see it?
Well, I'm not as, and I never have tried to be anything other than just an activist, and some of the stuff just goes right over my head. I mean, you're far more learned than me in constitutional matters, and you know, before I was suspended, you know, I've got a lot of friends in Alba. You know what I mean? They're still comrades. I still consider them comrades. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm not going to. I feel like you're you know, bound to ask me a question. I'm not going to jump ship. You know, I think that's what the unionists would, you know, surrounding
That's not what I was asking. I was just asking you to change parties or anything like that.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, when I was in the SNP, I was, you know, when I was going to marches, going to rallies, I was really despondent at the division between Alba and SNP. I've always been despondent about the fact that the SNP championed this both votes narrative. It's something that never floated my boat because I have my own green credentials, and I should not be dictated to by anyone, not by a king or a queen, not by a prime minister, and you know, not by a first minister either. I have my own mind, and I can make up my own mind. And if I want to vote, you know, SNP first and Green second, or if I want to vote SNP first or Alba second, or you know, or if I want to vote, you know, anything, you know, even Tusk, you know, Trade Union Socialist thing. You know, that should be my own choice, and that should be everybody's own choice, and they should do what they like. They should not be dictated to. So you know, and I found that this division has you know, jarred the wider independence family, because back in 14 we were a strong force. We were 250, 350 strong. You know, the independence marches that were organised on, you know, all under one banner and whatnot, what have you. They were joyous occasions. There was never any trouble. You know, people were, you know, in a kind of a party carnival mode. The speakers were fantastic, and everybody was all singing with the one voice. And then it started, you know, 2016, 2017. It started to get diluted, you know, and I think an awful lot of that came off of the back of the 2016 election results, where we've seen 13 Quislings, you know, enter Westminster, and you know, sadly, an awful lot of good parliamentarians lost their seats.
Just quickly, could you because you made that reference before, how do you define a Quisling? What is a Quisling in your view? And
to me, a Quisling is a traitor of their own country that they claim to represent. You know, they are not acting in the interest of the country that they represent. No. You know, if they are deemed to be Scottish MPs, they should be representing Scotland first, Britain second. Yeah. Do you know? You know, and the reason I love that word, as you know, obviously I'm a Republican. I've got my Irish sympathies, but in the classic song, "The Patriot Game," it is used at the end. You know, those Quislings who sold out Ireland's interests.
Paul says it originates from VidCon Quisling. So,
actually, it's Paul's quite right. It's a Norwegian word.
Yeah.
The Irish Republicans used it back in 1910. Right the way through to 1916. As the people betraying their own country, and that's the way that I look at it. But I mean, getting back to what I would the point that I was trying to make was that a lot of good parliamentarians lost their seats. Notwithstanding Alex as well, I've got a lot of respect for Alex. Alex actually helped me set up the SNP Socialist Group, and he mentored me not to turn it into a replication of the 79 group, I've got great respect for Alex, and Tasmina as well. And
I met them both a few weeks ago at one of Alex's. They're both. I mean, Alex. Yeah, he's a class act. I mean, in my
he is a class act, and Alex is, to my mind, a normal, laid back, ordinary guy. Insofar as, honestly, I shared a drink with them in the Salutation Hotel in Perth, and we were chatting away, and I just couldn't believe how
down to earth,
laid back he was, how grounded he was. In certain respects, I actually thought, he was a bit. I had the privilege to meet Jock Stein, and I actually thought, Alex is a bit like that. I mean, he's not a big overlordy person and stuff like that. He's quite sort of like, down to the earth and one of the people, as was Jock Stein. But I mean, the whole thing fractured, and I think that I don't think it was intentionally done by the SNP at the start. I think they played a big part in it, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was intentionally done by them at the start. It was intentionally done by the unionist press, the unionist media. By building up this, here Alex is coming to, he's going to sort out this, and he's going to, maybe put Nicola into a different light and whatnot, what have you, and all the rest of it. So, they drove an awful lot of that nasty narrative, and I think that the way that whole inquiry went and stuff like that, obviously there was a certain amount of protectionism, by both camps, by Nicola and Alex, that was the way that it went, and the mainstream media sought to widen that division, and I think they done it quite successfully. But going forward, I have always, and people, please, actually, have a look at my tweets, because and for the last 4 years, I've
give him the handle. Please give him the handle.
It said Nicola's #1 comrade, no more apparently.
Right. Okay. Also, just very quickly, my right honorable learned producer Paul informs us that the use of name Quisling as a term for collaborators or traitors in general probably came upon Quisling's unsuccessful 1940 coup d'état, when he attempted to seize power and make Norway cease resisting and the invading Germans. So that's again, my ever learned producer.
There we go. There we go. But yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I would urge people to have a look at my account and stuff like that, and they will see that I've been calling for unity and solidarity for the nation, not for the SNP, not for Alba, not for the Scottish Socialists and all the rest of it. I've got a lot of good comrades in Scottish Socialists. Big shout out to Comrade Richie Benton. But you know, no country has ever won its independence using the tools of division. That is it in a nutshell. If you look at Cuba, you know, they all rallied round the cause. You know, the common people bought into it. You know what I mean? And they, you know, an awful lot of bad things happened in Cuba, and an awful lot of good things happened. You know, you'll probably know better than me.
Like anywhere else, yeah.
But the fact that the people rallied round the cause, you know what I mean? They didn't rally around the party. They rallied around the fact that they wanted their country to be making their own decisions, and that's what our country needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've got.
Listen, Mark, I don't know. Mark, can you excuse me for a second? Because I've just remembered I've left something in the oven.
Okay.
Sorry, man.
No problem. Anyway, so while he's away, let's see some SSRG news. We're planning to have a conference at the end of October on the State of the Union. We're just in the very primary stages of organizing that, but we'd like to have some specialists discuss the State of the Union, what the legal implications, how Scotland can possibly leave the Union legally without a Section 30 and these other things. And we've been, if you read Yours for Scotland, Ian Lawson's blog, there's been some very good articles, legal articles about the Treaty of Union, the Act of Union, the claim of right in 1689, whether in fact that is legally usable for Scotland to unilaterally withdraw from the Treaty of Union, despite all of the propaganda that we've been fed over the years. And so obviously there's different legal opinions on all of this stuff. You know, and it can be interpreted so many different ways. There's so many different laws, opinions, all this stuff about the State of the Union. But I've been, making inquiries with colleagues that are in the House of Commons to get an opinion on whether or not the union is voluntary or not, and it will be interesting to see what the response is. And I have recently found some documentation from the House of Commons, which clearly states that Scotland is in a voluntary union and is not a dependency. And so I'll be writing an article about that I hope to get in Yours for Scotland in the next few days once I've done it, which adds to the debate over just the possibilities of how Scotland can achieve independence, given the fraught path I think that's been put forward in terms of holding a referendum next October, which could easily not happen, and also the fragility of and the possible fraud in any future referendum. So just giving a little plug for a conference we're hoping to hold in late October. But were you saying, did you want to pick up on something?
No, actually, that body of work that you're doing, when we spoke about that last week, it was one that I'm really, really interested in, and obviously I'm very interested to attend that conference as well.
Yeah, it should be on the. Again, we haven't found a venue yet, or anything like that, but we've planned it for the 29th of October, possibly in Dunfermline as last time, possibly maybe in Inverclyde. We don't know yet. So I mean,
We
can be sure that
somebody actually said in the comments there that he popped out of the loo but just wanted to polite. No, I wasn't being polite. I'm actually a chef, and I put a pasta bake into the oven, and I just remembered at the last minute that I didn't turn it off. So I do apologize.
Okay, and let's see. And Patricia, you can answer this in any way you want. But do either of you think that Nicola is more organized for independence than Alex was? Again, you can answer that in any way you feel.
It depends on how Patricia's putting that. Is she talking about how Alex was organised in 2014, or how Alex is organised now? Obviously, I don't know what Alex is up to at this moment in time. It's been a long time since I spoke to him. But then again, saying that, well, I mean, it was last month. Famously, I was speaking to Nicola, but we didn't discuss independence on that. But I mean, I think that there has to be the political will in order for the country to be ready. And again, that's why I'm constantly crying out for unity and solidarity, from indie activists to drop the badges, forget the SNP tag, forget the Alba tag, and pick up the Scottish independence tag, and just do what's right for your country. Whether that's independence, whether it's whether that's SNP, whether it's Green, whether it's Socialist, all the rest of it. We're now in a state of flux where the Westminster government are actively gerrymandering the votes. We have just witnessed the fact that Liz Truss was elected on a third of basically the electorate of the whole country, and now she's saying that we need to be into at least 2/3 of the whole electorate of Scotland voting for independence. So I mean, obviously, our way of doing things is certainly not the way that the Tories do it.
I know. Again,
power.
The Tories or other parties can get them with the first past the post system. They can get a majority with 30-something% of the vote. Why are you applying different standards to Scotland? I mean, before even Margaret Thatcher acknowledged that electing a majority of Scottish nationalist MPs would be sufficient to achieve independence. Maybe she didn't think that would ever happen. Maybe she said that.
That should have done it in 2014. That should have been enough. 56 MPs should have been enough. And, the Westminster Parliament should have remembered what Margaret Thatcher said. And, it shouldn't have been up for question. Now, I think that obviously David Cameron did take that into consideration. It was obviously a gamble for him, but he had the might of the British media behind him in order to, subvert the actual vote. I mean, we had people up here, Eddie Izzard, Jim Murphy, various people, even bloody, what's his name? Archie McPherson telling pensioners that they'll not get their pension. I mean, literally scaring people shitless. I'm sorry to use that word, but
no, there's no question.
That's what they've done. That's what they've done. They told lies, and all these lies have come home to roost. I remember back in the day, my father scorning me for doing something naughty and stuff like that, and all the rest of it. And he never beat me. My dad was my idol. He was a lovely, fair man. A right good socialist. Always looked after his workers. But the point of when he put his hand on the buckle of his belt was enough for you to start telling the truth.
Right.
The threat was there. I mean, he didn't have to use the violence. The threat was there. And what I mean by that is that the lies that were told and told again and told again, and they were never challenged. And now we're seeing the truth coming out of it. We were told, vote no in order to stay in the European Union. That is the biggest one of all. And hey ho, what are we doing? We're out of the European Union. We've got no freedom of movement. We're demonising refugees, and we're becoming an insular island that nobody wants to deal with. On the international stage, nobody wants to deal with.
No, absolutely. The UK has never been at a lower abyss in terms of international, before they were at least feared and respected, when they controlled 25% of the world. But now they're just like a pathetic basket case,
without a shadow of a doubt. But the fact is the fact that they don't care. They don't care if they're perceived as a basket case, because they still think that they are above everyone. They still think that they are elite in the world stage. You've got Boris Johnson when he was Prime Minister, going over. He has got no empathy for Ukraine whatsoever. That is just a show. That is just a show. And, to be honest with you, I don't know, obviously, President Zelensky, but I've got a feeling that President Zelensky would have worked with a chimpanzee in order to get money. Well, in fact, he was actually working with a fucking chimpanzee. In order to get money and in order to get the support and the arms, and the monetary support. I mean, they're not blood brothers. They're not comrades. They're not, the best of buddies and whatnot, what have you. Because obviously Johnson now being past tense, Truss now being, the present tense, we will need to see what her relationship is going to be with President Zelensky. Zelensky might, ride up and go like that. Looney. We just don't know. But I mean, there's so many heads of state out there. Yourself. Macron. All the rest of it, who have been totally put down. Even before she was Prime Minister. Friend or foe. And and saying, the jury's still out to lunch on that. That's a hell of a way to treat your biggest trading partner. Does she not realise, or do any of the Tories not realise, right? And I'm speaking as a chef here, right? One of the classic French nouvelle cuisine dishes is lobster thermidor. That lobster needs to be as fresh as it was caught. Now, the conditions that we keep lobster thermidor, lobsters in now, compared to what we kept them in 1750 when we had the old alliance and we were trading lobsters and crab and stuff like that in exchange for French claret and and French herbs and whatnot, what have you. Now it is, when it gets to a French restaurant, it is good as caught, right? Not now, because of the oodles of red tape that have been imposed on because of Brexit. French restaurants can't get the best Scottish beef. They can't get the best Scottish fisheries produce. They can't get quality Scottish veg as well, because quite a few French restaurants revel in Scottish veg, and it's just been an absolute nightmare. If your Citroen car breaks down in Scotland, you're looking at least a fortnight in order to try and source parts.
Get the parts, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It really is bizarre. Honestly, it is bizarre.
We're reaching the end of the show, but speaking of Ukraine, I believe you're doing some charity work for them, and you wanted to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, not that I wanted to. I'm not into white saviorism or any such way, shape, or fashion. I think my credentials are well documented. I've been a humanitarian worker pretty much since 2011. Eastwood Refugee Aid. We initially took 20 vans over to the jungle in Calais. And also to the satellite camp at Sangatte. We've always supported our friends at Care for Calais. We decided to help and support the Afghan resettlement scheme, which Britain wistfully enacted. and we've been helping the Afghan asylum seekers and refugees that are in the hotels, languishing in the hotels. I have to use that word because it's no fun. It really is no fun living in a hotel. It's like an open prison. And it's even worse to be living in a cruise liner in Edinburgh. You've got nowhere to go. You've got limited amount of access to activity and stuff like that. And obviously the state in Ukraine, again, Eastwood Refugee Aid, along with my two long-serving comrades, Ron McKechnie and as well, 6 vans direct from East Renfrewshire out to Ukraine. So on Friday, we'll be sending our last van out because sadly we can no longer remain at the hub that has been gifted to us by East Renfrewshire Council. Just purely down to the fact that we've taken into consideration the energy price hikes, the availability of activists that want to come and help us and all the rest of it. So, we will continue to do what we do. We will do a fundraiser, further down the line. We will go to Cali, again, to continue to help our friend Claire Mosley out there. If you're up that way, Mark, I'll give you the heads up and we can possibly catch up and get a baguette and a beer.
Yeah, well, if you can make it down to Rennes, you're always welcome. It's lovely out here, so anyway, I wanted to wrap it up just in a minute. A question from Patricia: Do you think we should join EFTA first and get the trade moving after the yes vote? I can answer that. The answer is yes. Through the SSRG, I contacted EFTA and I spoke with them and I asked them if the 2021 elections in Holyrood were used as a plebiscite election, whether they would consider allowing Scotland to join, and they said, yeah. Declare independence, send a letter, you're in, we'll get you back in the EEA. I mean, and so Scotland could have been, if a different route had been taken electorally, then Scotland could be in EFTA right now. So that's something I can answer in the affirmative. And I'm sure the door is still open, but there needs to be. It doesn't have to be a yes vote in a referendum. It can be a democratic event which confirms referendums, and there's different. It confirms a democratic desire for independence, and there's no international standards on this. I mean, in the sense that, for example, the Kosovo's declaration of independence, there was nothing illegal about it under international law, and countries are free to recognize, countries, however they achieve independence. And given the fact, given the fact that, how many countries, 60 plus countries, have become free from the British Empire without a Section 30 order, and I think vast majority without a referendum, then sure, it's possible. But there has to be, the groundwork has to be done. There has to be communication with the, international actors, making overtures to them, saying, look, would you consider this valid? What do you think? And as I said, I've already asked EFTA, and as long as it's a democratic, legitimate, peaceful event, they're not bothered. And they're even and EFTA not even specific on it. They say any state can join, and under the definition of a state in the Montevideo Treaty of 1953, 33 or 53, 33, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, they define a state pretty simply, a territory with a defined people capable of governing itself and capable of entering into foreign policy. And that's the only thing, the last one is the only thing that Scotland lacks, the capacity or the right to enter into international treaties, because they're part of a broader nation state, the UK, which has recognition on the international scale, but a stage. But there's no reason that can't change. And there's no reason that other countries will not accept, especially given the absolutely abysmal reputation that the UK has on the international scale at stage at this point. I mean, the US is furious over the Northern Ireland Protocol, especially Joe Biden, who was talking about how his family came over from Ireland to the US in coffin boats. Back, I don't know exactly when it was, but family lore tends to have a long memory, and his view towards the UK is very much shaped by his own family history. And he said, he's told Liz Truss, you don't screw with the Northern Ireland Protocol, or no trade deal, and you will be a pariah in our eyes. And Ireland has huge support among the Congress as well, overwhelming, and they have Friends of Ireland, in this House and the Senate. Same with Friends of Scotland. I mean, Scotland has huge goodwill in the U.S. I mean, so many millions of Scots and Irish are descended from, all they have to do is ask. Really, it's as simple as that, and cultivate these international relations. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent, but
no. I was actually going to, I was going to agree with you, obviously, on the EFTA point. But personally, my own grandmother, she went out to work in service in Rhode Island, and she was working for one of the senator at the time. And the only reason that she got the job is because she could read and write, she constantly told me about the Scots-Irish diaspora in the
diaspora. I think it's diaspora. Yeah.
Diaspora. You say tomatoes, I say tomatoes. She found a great affinity, in this community. And what is it? Is it Providence? Is the
Providence, Rhode Island? And I'm curious.
Providence is the state.
No, Providence, Rhode Island is a city within Rhode Island.
Rhode Island is
a very small state in between Connecticut and New York. I mean, it's the smallest state geographically, even though it has a fairly large population.
Yeah. So I mean, she was out there for about 3 years, and the connections that she made, Scots Irish and all the rest of it, and American, obviously. And her sister remained out there, and sadly she died in a sanitarium. But the whole connection there, and I get what Biden was saying. I mean, he's got the direct connection, to Ireland, but again, going back to what we were initially talking about, the British Empire, I fall down on so many counts with the British Empire, notwithstanding their stance towards the Irish, and to my mind, the atrocities that were actually imposed on the Irish people. Notwithstanding the partition that was enacted, but also again, when I look at what happened in India and Pakistan, the partition that was enacted,
the Bengali famine, the Irish famine, and they talk about, there was a crop failure. No, it was the British with their guns saying, "Give us all your potatoes because we're gonna eat them, and you can just starve."
Correct. But it was a
a man-made event. Same with the Bengali.
Well, see the segment, and I hate to get all sort of like Celtic about it, but the actual line in the song "The Fields of Athenry," is because the young chap was sentenced and deported for stealing Trevelyan's corn, so the young might see the morn.
Yeah,
and that was it. it was the fact that people were stealing food in order to survive, because the landed gentry were hoarding huge swathes of wheat, barley, rye, vegetables and stuff like that, and all the rest of it. And people had to steal in order to survive. But that wasn't just in Ireland as well, because it happened again in India, and it happened in Pakistan as well.
We need to wrap it up, but I wanted to just give you a chance to say anything you wanted to say. I mean, a nice appeal to unity again, or how do you want to close out our delightful discussion?
I don't do nicey namby-pamby politics. I think you know that, Mark. My only appeal is, yes, unity and solidarity for your country, and party second. Think about that the next time that you're asked to go to the ballot box. Think about what your country wants you to do. Do you know what I mean? Think about what it takes in order for our country to be free. That's all. That is my main plea. Let's not make enemies. Scotland for years ripped clans apart in order, what was that famous line in Braveheart, to get the scraps off a Longshanks table. Do you know what I mean? Stop fighting for the scraps. Unify and show solidarity for your country, for your fellow activists. Everything else can get sorted out after we get independence. Let's get independence first.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to very quickly add before we terminate, we at the SSRG conference recently, we had both Douglas Chapman and Neil Hanvey on the same stage talking about the need for unity and the need for, if there is a plebiscite election, that there be agreement between the Yes movement on how to move forward. So it's not as if it's non-existent, but it needs to grow. Chris, thank you so much for being with us, and I admire your restraint when speaking about certain subjects. But thank you so much, and you can be back. You're welcome back anytime.
No, honestly, Mark,